Okay. Hi. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Miriam Smith, the host for Empowering New Nurses. And I'm just so excited today that I have a special young guest today with us. She's none other than someone special. I'll let her talk about herself a little from now. But we are celebrating Black History Month. And we know that we have our pioneers like Martin Luther Jr., we have Rosa Parks, we have Malcolm X, we have so many others, including Bob Marley, Marcus Garvey, and we could go on and on. But today we're just going to highlight a few of our present contributors to society and to the world at large. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a young entrepreneur. And I'm just going to give her the opportunity to say something about herself. Why? Because as nurses, we in the hospital setting and different arenas, health arenas, we encounter different individuals from diverse backgrounds. And so today, with their occupation, where they're from, their customs and their cultures. But today, as we celebrate Black History Month, I'm just highlighting Joanna Smith, Miss Joanna Smith. There's some relation, but I'll tell you later. Joanna Smith, welcome to the Empower New Nurses show. It's a pleasure to have you here. Can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me on the show, Dr. Smith. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Smith. I am thrilled, excited, and committed to ensuring that students are exposed to science, tech, engineering, and mathematics. And I am also a geotechnical engineer, which means that I help to design foundations and do subsurface investigations for all type of structures on land and also in water.
Okay. I know there was a time, just maybe about 3 years ago or 2 years. I remember you working on one of the bridges in New York City. Can you tell us a little about that? Because not very often we have women working on bridges, not in my area. Let's hear about that.
Sure. So, um, as a geotechnical engineer, I was leading the Hunts Point Improvement Project out in the South Bronx to conduct a rehabilitation project to ensure that we are changing the direction and flow of traffic that would often go throughout neighborhoods in the South Bronx and literally creating an overpass over the Amtrak and the CSX transit lines into the Hunts Point area in order to ensure that the traffic was lessened and also that the diesel emission fuels were also lessened in the neighborhoods and the communities of the South Bronx area. So Hunts Point is the location where food and produce for that comes into New York City is the hub for that specific location. And food and produce comes in by rail, by water, and also by transit. So this is a pretty big project, a $1.8 billion project for infrastructure here. It was in the Bronx area, and it was great to be able to use my degree to facilitate change in that way.
Thanks for sharing that because it's known that in the Bronx there's so much emission. The 95 passes through the Bronx, and so the emission that many individuals in the Bronx suffer from asthma or some allergic reaction. So that's a great help there to sort of help to reduce the amount of emission that goes through the Bronx. That you see, we all interact, we all interrelate, and we all contribute to society in different ways. In other words, the health of the nation. So you are I've seen here on your platform you have math and mathematics, you have math and skating, you have negotiation and math. So, as a young geotech, tell us a little about that. Tell us something about that because there are young people all around and their parents, they're nurses, they're young nurses, they're seasoned nurses, nurses who have their grandparents, and they want to know something. I've seen a little girl there. Tell us about your music, your math, and your skating. How do all of those work together?
Sure. So, as a geotechnical engineer, we deal with the foundation of everything, right? And so here, it is no different. We at Daily Smith STEM, which I'm the founder of, are really dealing with the foundations of universal languages that are able to transcend uh, the work and future work and also life skills. So the music and math pillar is one that incorporates the mathematical aspects of music. And so students are able to code music using Python with a program called TunePad, originating at Northwestern University. They're also able to create robots using Legos, and they're also able to code that with a program as well in order to give the robot lifelike capacities and capabilities. Um, and then the math and skating portion is another pillar that we also work on, and with students, where students are actually able to understand major physics concepts by literally putting roller skates together and understanding the anatomy of it and dissecting that, as well as understanding the mechanical structure of their bodies. You see that over there, says a hands-on approach to mechanics. Students literally design their own skates and go from there. And then we have the negotiation and mathematics aspect, where students are able to speak about their value to themselves and also the value they offer others, affirming themselves, and also speaking to how they negotiate and what financial literacy looks like for them now and also in the future.
Excellent, excellent. I must say to you, congratulations for getting young minds to start thinking so objectively and futuristic. Because I remember attending one of your classes, and some little children were there, including one of the little girls. She said she wanted to be a nurse, and she was able to talk about what she really wanted to do. I think she wanted to be a pediatric nurse, and she talked about, I mean, as you had different contributors coming in and discussing money management and coding, it's, I mean, I'm an adult, a baby boomer, and coding for me is something recent, but these children are learning from, what's the age group? What age group do you have?
Ages ages 4 to 15.
Wow. And those 4-year-olds, they're participating in the coding and getting it right. So can you imagine? Can imagine, I mean, my audience right here now, can you imagine your children, your grandchildren learning coding from now? They have a path. They know what they want to be in the future, and they sort of start going in that path. So that's excellent. Thank you for the great work you have been doing to help educate our young people, help them to pilot, and help them to sort of pick up on what they want to be in the future, and really focus in those areas. Now, I want you to tell the audience a little about your background in terms of you've become an engineer. You certainly didn't become a nurse, even if your mom wanted you to. But just think about it. What really happened? You went to two outstanding universities, and I know that other young people want to hear that you have attended such schools and have come back and contribute and be contributing to society in different ways. Can you tell us about those schools and what your experiences were like?
Sure. I went to Morgan State University, to the historically Black college and university. It was really a great experience for me to be able to connect with other students that were also excelling in engineering, whether that was electrical, civil, mechanical, structural. Um, And it was just really great to see teachers of color with two doctorates and also who were really excited and diligent in ensuring that students were um, excelling in engineering. And then I had a dream school that was down the street from Morgan. Actually, didn't know it was in the same vicinity. Johns Hopkins University was always a school that I wanted to attend, or university rather. And I did go there to complete my master's in geotechnical engineering. And that was also a very interesting experience. And it definitely taught me how to work harder than I've ever worked before.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Now, from your experience, I know you're a very adventurous person, and it can be frightening sometimes. And if you could just project your voice some more for me and just let us know, tell me some of the experiences that you have had as a geotech person. I know you have gone in the sea and have picked up stones or earth or soil or whatever. Tell us a little about that for those who don't have any idea what that really entails.
Sure. So, as a geotechnical engineer, we study the soil after going to collect samples that can range up to 150 feet below the ground surface in order to ensure um, that the loading or the capacity of the structure that we're going to um, put up or design will be able to be held in place um, over time with only um, like a half an inch of settlement um, for the time span and of the structure. So that's a little bit about what we do. We do that for soils, which could be either clay or sand. And then we also do that same type of process using either a drill rig or if that would be in the water, which would be um, offshore, which would be like a jackup rig or oil rig or some type of rig wherein we would be able to actually do a soil sample in the water. So a rig that would already have um, a rig on the boat or some type of structure that will go into the water. So that's a little bit about what we do. Then we test the soil, and that's usually tested out by a subcontractor, and then we'll get the results back. And after we get the results, we will look at the recompression index, which for the civil engineering terms is tell us the elasticity of the soil, and based on so things that we call like the pore water pressure, how much water is actually in the soil, the unit weight of the soil, um, and a few other things that we'll put in the equation. That would be able to give us the type of the properties of the soil, and then from there we would be able to determine um, what type of foundation is needed in order to ensure that we are able to keep the bearing capacity at a factor of safety of say 2 or 3, depending on the structure and the details within the building code for that actual structure. So I hope that gave some insight as to what geotechnical engineering looks like um, on a
Thank
daily
you.
basis.
Thank you for that. How do you feel? That's more for the engineer individuals, right? Giving us all an idea of what it's really like. How do you feel when you're driving on the bridge that you have worked on? For example, have you ever climbed on the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yes, I have rode across the Brooklyn Bridge. I have not necessarily worked on the Brooklyn Bridge per se, but when I am driving across the structure for Hunts Point that I have worked on, it definitely is a rewarding feeling, because I do remember having to go out early in the morning and speak to different stakeholders and move things around so that we could actually do the work that we needed to get done. And so it's really great to see the progress over the duration of time and see it really happening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know you have friends who are nurses, young nurses too. I'll give you a minute and a half. How is that? Just to say what your nurse, as far as you interact with your nurse, what is it like for you? And when you hear them talk?
Um, it is interesting to hear them talk. A lot of my nursing friends are in supervisory positions, so they are overseeing a facility. Sometimes they have to be on the floor, um, you know, still taking down data for each patient. So it's interesting. Not really a field that I envy as of right now, but it definitely is um, great to hear about the different stakeholders and what's required to be successful in the nursing field, especially post COVID.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. So at this time, I'm going to say thank you for coming on. And I know that you have a STEM program. And if you just want to give a shout about how they can contact you. At the same time, I want to give a shout to some of your classmates who have been contributing to society in this time, and Dr. Care Henderson in the cyber security. I just want to give a shout from Morgan State. He got his doctorate. I was at his graduation. I'm excited about that. And Eamon Doe, who deals with transportation. So young people who are contributing in our time to society, and including Joanna Smith, my daughter, in engineering. And she also has a STEM program. Just in 2 minutes or so, can you just tell us about your STEM program?
Sure. So our STEM program helps expose students to science, tech, engineering, and mathematics through roller skating in math, music and math, and negotiation in mathematics. Our program is unconventional and very hands-on, and allows students to not only be able to think and do calculations, but also to do the work and create and innovate new structures and new contraptions based on what has been given to them and how they are able to innovate and think outside the box. So our program typically runs in the summertime. We do a summer STEM camp that is often 2 to 6 weeks, depending on where we are. In New York City, we will be here as well in the summer. And then we'll also be in other locations, and you can always look at the website Daily, that's DALEY, Smith Inc.com. We also run a program in the fall, depending on the interest of our clients. So we come to you and we implement these 3 pillars. And when students are finished, they're able to understand how heavy physics works, as well as coding and numbers and finance. So it's really an exciting and unique program.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule and come and share on this platform, Empowering You Nurses show. I'm Dr. Miriam Smith, and I can be contacted on YouTube at Miriam Amanda Smith, on Instagram, that is Podcastmare. Of course, I am on Apple and Spotify, Facebook, TikTok. Thank you so much for coming on. And my young nurses, there's another young person who you can interact with and get more information on how we all interrelate and we all contribute to the health of society. Thanks for coming on. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.